Would you like to learn essential vocabulary to talk about the coronavirus in English? Keep watching. Welcome to iConnect's Language Corner. I'm your host, Teacher Joe. It's so great to finally speak to you. Today, I'm coming to you from my house. So welcome to my home. The coronavirus has affected all of us. It is worrisome and it is stressful. But what shouldn't be stressful is knowing how to talk about it in conversations with medical professionals, co-workers, and especially if you need to have conversations with your guests. Before we get started, I want to make it very clear that I am not a medical professional and that I am not offering any advice. But I do want to help you fully understand what you're hearing and what you're reading about. And I want to make it possible for you to share your thoughts and your concerns in any situation you may encounter in our community. Let's start with the top 3 words that are being used when talking about the coronavirus: outbreak, epidemic, and pandemic. To understand these words better, it is helpful to imagine a target. You have a central point, and then the circle gets bigger. An outbreak is a sudden increase in the number of cases of a disease in a particular place. Let me give you an example. In Mexico, the coronavirus started with an outbreak in Mexico City. Over time, it became an epidemic, which is a large outbreak. That means that the number of people who have the virus continued to go up quickly, and it was over a larger geographic area. It means that the number of cases continues to rise rapidly around the globe. It is no longer in one region or one country. It is across multiple regions, continents, and countries. Now, one more word related to this is the epicenter. An epicenter is a focal point or center point. Let's go back to the first example we used with the word outbreak. Initially, the outbreak in Mexico began in Mexico City. The epicenter of an outbreak would be a particular neighborhood or location where that outbreak began. In this case, in Mexico, the epicenter was in a place called Tlalpan in Mexico City. As we watch the coronavirus move from an outbreak to an epidemic and then to a pandemic, we've needed to respond in different ways. One of the first things that you've probably heard about are restrictions. Restrictions are limits or ways to control someone or something. For example, right now there are many travel restrictions around the world. It means there's a limit or some control of where you can and cannot travel to. A second response is social distancing. Social distancing is a focused effort to reduce close contact between people. The purpose of social distancing is to slow down the movement or spread of the coronavirus. That's why we no longer have English classes in person, and large public events are being cancelled, and many businesses have started to encourage telework, which means working from home, using the internet, email, and telephone. Social distancing also includes staying home more often and avoiding public places or large crowds when out of the house. As an example, if you're going to the hotel or if you go to the grocery store and you see your friend, social distancing would mean that you don't touch or have close contact. Instead, you keep your distance, which is a big change in behavior for a lot of us because we like to hug, we like to shake hands, and we like to kiss someone on the cheek when we see them. It's better to keep that distance, again, to slow the spread or transmission of the virus. Another response that you've probably heard a lot about is self-quarantine. To quarantine means to separate or restrict the movement of people who have the coronavirus or have been exposed to it and those who have not. Many individuals have asked or have volunteered to self-quarantine, and what this means is that they stay home and they restrict their movements. They don't go out in public unless absolutely necessary. For example, if you have a medical appointment. The final word that we want to discuss is isolation, which is the most restrictive separation. Isolation is when an individual with a disease has been completely separated from other individuals while they are contagious. Now let's focus on this word, contagious. Contagious refers to how a disease moves or spreads from one person to another by direct or indirect contact. Now in this video, we've used the word spread multiple times. This is a word we often use when we're talking about the movement of a virus from one person to another. Earlier, I mentioned that the purpose of restrictions, social distancing, and self-quarantine are to slow down the movement or the spread of the virus from one person to another. And there are three important reasons why we're doing this. Of course, number one is to protect you and all of your loved ones. Number two is to protect those who are most vulnerable. So far, with the spread of the coronavirus, it seems that elderly individuals or those of advanced age and individuals with a compromised immune system are most at risk. Your immune system is your body's ability to fight a virus or protect itself from a virus. A compromised immune system means a weaker immune system. As a result, someone might get sick more easily, or their body isn't able to fight the virus as well as someone with a healthy immune system can. The third important reason to slow down the spread of the coronavirus is to reduce the possibility of overstressing, overwhelming, or overburdening our healthcare systems and hospitals. Notice that I'm using the prefix over with all of those words. When I add the word over, for example, when a hospital is overstressed or a doctor is overburdened, it means too much or above normal. Certainly, we want to make sure that our hospitals, our doctors, nurses, and all of our medical staff and facilities are able to treat anyone who needs medical attention. Now, if you or someone you know does need medical attention specifically related to the coronavirus, I want to highlight some of the most important words you'll need to know in order to talk to your doctor, nurses, and other medical staff about how you are feeling, what symptoms you are having. A symptom is a physical sign of an illness. Some of the most common symptoms that are being talked about are fevers. A fever is when your body temperature is too high. It's higher than it should be or higher than normal. To talk about that with a medical professional, you would say, I have a fever. I have a fever of, and then give the specific temperature. You'll also hear people say, I'm running a temperature. In addition to a fever, you might have symptoms like a cough. You may also have shortness of breath or tightness in your chest. If you have shortness of breath or tightness in your chest, it means you have pain here, particularly when you try to breathe and you're not able to take deep breaths. For example, you're not able to do something like this. Instead, your breath might be very shallow, and again, it's painful. You feel a lot of pressure or pain here. Other symptoms of the coronavirus include common flu symptoms such as sneezing and body aches. A body ache is when your whole body is in pain and it hurts. You might also feel tired, fatigued, or lethargic. Fatigued means very tired, and lethargic means you have no energy. The last thing I want to highlight in this video today is some of the words that we're using to talk about how we are preparing to stay home more. Again, talking about social distancing, choosing to stay home, or even if you need to self-quarantine. The first one is the phrasal verb to stock up. To stock up means to have an extra supply. particularly of the basic necessities like food, medicine, and other essential household items. And this is perfectly appropriate to do if you're going to self-quarantine for 14 days. That means that you need to have enough food for you and anyone else that's living with you. People are going to the grocery store and other markets to stock up on things like dry goods, canned goods, non-perishables, and frozen food. Dry goods and non-perishables are foods that last for a long time. For example, pasta, rice, and dried beans. Now again, this is perfectly appropriate, even smart to do. It's great to be well prepared, but one thing that we want to avoid to do is to hoard supplies. To hoard means that you have an extra large supply that you hide and you keep to yourself. If you're hoarding supplies, it means that you're taking more than you need, and as a result, other people don't have the opportunity to also stock up and prepare. And that's something we definitely need to avoid. Of course, right now, we want to protect ourselves and all of our loved ones. It's also time to protect everyone in our community and help where we can. Now, I know I didn't cover every possible word you may be hearing or reading about when it comes to the coronavirus. So if you have a question, if you want to share your experience, if you hear a word that you're not sure about, or if you're struggling with how to express something, please be sure to share that with me. You can always ask questions in the comment section of this episode. iConnect is the best place to share and ask any question that you might have. My number one goal is that you don't feel stressed on how to communicate on this important topic. Thank you so much for joining me today. And again, never hesitate to let me know if you have a question about something you've heard in English, something you want to express, or if you simply want to share what is happening in your life experience. And with that, I hope that you and everyone you love stay safe and healthy. This was iConnect's Language Corner. Thank you so much for watching.
Just to get our lives, so I keep it together.